10, 10 o'clock news.
Thanks for making MTN your choice for news tonight. I'm Tim McGonigal. First at 10, crews are investigating an illegal burn just west of Great Falls. Firefighters stopped the blaze from spreading after a property owner lit treated materials on fire. Around 5:30 this evening, Vaughn fire crews received word of a grass fire along McIver Road where someone was burning treated materials without a permit. They immediately responded and had the fire contained by around 6:15 p.m. Vaughn Fire Chief Jason McAllister said the illegally burned substance appeared to be railroad ties. Vaughn Fire Rescue is conducting the investigation. Chief McAllister reminds the community that they must possess a burn permit if they wish to burn materials in Cascade County. Well, that incident happened after heavy rains made their way through the area. For more on that and a look at our first forecast, we send it over to MTN's Elizabeth Copeland.
All right, well, clouds have mostly moved out as those storms shift to the northeast part of the state. So we're actually seeing some blue sky out there before the sun sets across our Opportunity Bank ICAM in Helena. Dry, clear conditions are going to stick around, but so is the cooler weather. So we're quite a bit cooler right now than we were this time yesterday, about anywhere from really 10 to 15 degrees cooler, even 25 in Lewistown. So much cooler air already settling in behind that cold front, which sparked those afternoon storms. Expect clear skies, but much cooler temperatures tomorrow as well. So storms are going to clear out later on tonight for most north central and northeast Montana, but some cloud cover here and there will keep us quite a bit warmer. 59 degrees, the overnight low. So we do start quite a bit warmer tomorrow afternoon, but we'll see a lot of sunshine and temperatures only jump about 10 degrees tomorrow afternoon. And we're only going to top out in the mid to low 80s. So we track more on that cooler weather and our sunshine chances before we warm up next week coming up here shortly.
Thanks, Elizabeth. The death toll from COVID-19 in Montana has reached 45 as Canyon Creek Memory Care in Billings has reported another death tonight on their Facebook page. This after Yellowstone County health officials said a man in his 70s passed away at the long-term care facility Tuesday. Since the facility outbreak was announced July 6th, 15 residents have died there. The state of Montana reported 97 new cases of coronavirus since Wednesday. The Cascade City County Health Department has adopted Governor Bullock's mask mandate. That means the department will now be responsible for countywide mask enforcement, as well as the call center's role for reports of noncompliance. The mask mandate requires face coverings in all counties with 4 or more active cases of COVID-19 to slow the spread of the virus. We spoke with Health Officer Tricia Gardner, who hopes this mask mandate will show people how serious this is.
As I've said before, this is one of those real simple things that everybody can do, and I hope that everyone sees the seriousness of this virus and plays their part in being able to help keep our community safe and healthy.
Lewis and Clark Public Health has exceeded their capacity with investigation and contact tracing of COVID patients. They're now relying on surge staffing for assistance. There are a total of 4 nurses regularly employed by the health department. Due to the increase of cases in the county, they have had to recruit other nurses on temporary employment to meet the need. There are 68 active COVID cases in Lewis and Clark County right now, more than half of which were attributed to community spread. Health Officer Drenda Neiman says public health needs help and is asking for the community to show personal responsibility and vigilance in following COVID guidelines. Neiman noted recent cases in the county have a lot of contacts with other individuals.
With every case that has a large number of contacts, that's hours of work for our staff. And if we cannot do our investigation, contact tracing, isolation and quarantine process quickly, then those individuals are in our community and potentially exposing others.
Well, so far, the state of Montana has decided where 2/3 of the $1.25 billion they've received from CARES Act funding will go. MTN's chief political reporter Mike Dennison takes a closer look at the status and intended purpose of that money.
Governor Bullock said Wednesday his administration has allocated $822 million of Montana's federal CARES Act money to mitigate impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. But only about $160 million of that money has actually been distributed. The governor said 2 reasons for this gap is because the state is awaiting more information from 900 grant applicants and has had to weed out another 750 duplicate applications.
Department of Commerce moved quickly through thousands of applications while still maintaining strong verifications and internal controls, and is completely caught up with the deluge of applications.
So where's the money going? About $300 million is for local governments to cover COVID-19 related costs, but only $32 million is out the door so far. Yet the Bullock administration said that money is meant for the entire year and is being distributed in stages. Another $125 million is set aside for loan deferments for businesses hit by the pandemic. There's also $75 million for schools to help them with reopening costs, $75 million for state government, and $40 million for mental health and substance abuse programs. These totals don't include $61 million in business stabilization grants that have already been handed out to thousands of small businesses. Republican Senate Majority Leader Fred Thomas of Stevensville says he's not impressed. He says the Bullock administration has had this money since April and should have distributed $400 to $500 million by now. As he put it, this money is not for Christmas. It's meant for the current right now economy. Yet Bullock says the money is meant to last for the entire year, and he wants the state to be able to respond to needs as they arise.
Because we know that things have rapidly changed throughout the pandemic, and it's clear that the virus is still presenting significant challenges to our health and safety, as well as our economic stability. We have to ensure that we have the resources to weather the next 6 months.
Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
The Helena City Commission held a preliminary discussion tonight before making a decision next week on the future of the School Resource Officer program. The commission has temporarily delayed almost $300,000 from the Helena Police Department budget while they consider whether to remove 4 armed officers from Helena Public Schools. The work session was the commission's first extensive discussion on the issue after they heard testimony at a meeting earlier this month. Commissioners Sean Logan and Emily Dean expressed concerns about the impact of ending the SRO program so close to the start of the school year. Commissioner Heather O'Loughlin, who has been one of the main advocates for ending the contract, said she still wants to move forward with removing the officers, but that she's willing to look at delaying the change to give the school district more time to implement a new plan.
I certainly would be open to a suggestion from the body on what timing makes sense. I continue to think that it would be important to say, this existing structure will end at that date.
I think when we move forward, we can't afford not to get this right. We simply cannot afford not to.
The commission is set to make a decision on the delayed funds during its regular meeting on Monday night. Well, for our viewers that watch us on Dish Network, we have a programming note for you. Our parent company Scripps and Dish are in contract negotiations. This station, KRTV and KXLH, may go dark for customers tomorrow if they don't reach an agreement by the contract deadline. Since launching its first television station in 1947, Scripps has never before experienced a station blackout with any cable or satellite operator. In a statement, Scripps said after 5 months of negotiating with Dish and multiple contract extensions, Scripps and Dish Network may be reaching an impasse. We hope Dish will understand the need for Scripps viewers to receive its local television stations given the pressing news in our communities right now, including a global pandemic, discussions around social unrest, the active political year, and severe weather season. This dispute is about the distribution of our broadcast signal so we can keep our local audiences safe and informed. If you can't access this station tomorrow night on Dish, you can please go to our website, krtv.com or kxlh.com for more information. Well, it wasn't long ago that the oil industry was humming a happy tune, but these days producers are singing the blues. We'll have that story next.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Homeless residents in Great Falls say they have someone watching over them as we all continue through the pandemic. Carly Tuss is the Director of Homeless Services at St. Vincent de Paul's Angel Center. Since COVID-19, she's found a new way to feed the hungry in Great Falls by serving lunches each week in the same parking lot. Tuss says this simple act of serving a lunch not only gives people a free meal, it also brings valuable dollars into the community.
We've been responsible for over 100 people being counted right here from this food truck. That's a substantial contribution to the community.
Tuss told MTN News funding gained through their efforts helps programs that get homeless and at-risk individuals back on their feet. She says a fresh start begins with mercy and a meal. We have more on the Angel Center on our website. Well, what's one thing better than eating good or doing good? How about both? As the first ever food truck frenzy kicked off in Great Falls, attendees were able to get some grub and give some goods to students in need. The Great Falls Association of Realtors collected essential items and monetary donations during the event to raise money for Stand Up for Students, a program benefiting at-risk youth in the community. Food vendors also donated a portion of their proceeds. Event organizer Marie Wilson explained why she thought this event would draw in donors.
We can always rely on our community to help us, make things better. And as you can see, there's a ton of people out here supporting these food trucks, and the food trucks who are supporting us and supporting the kids. So we thought we would make it more of an event.
If you happen to miss today's essential goods drive but would still like to donate, the Great Falls Association of Realtors will continue collecting toiletries through August. Well, it's been a rough sledding in the oil patch these days. A triple whammy of sorts has turned the once booming BAKKEN into the BAKKEN Blues. MTN's Jay Cohn has more on how the BAKKEN has bottomed out.
10,000 layoffs and more on the way. Oil production off 30%, just April to May. The number of active oil rigs down 82% since January. Just some of the details in the July report from the North Dakota Department of Mineral Resources. The startling numbers come at a time when the region's oil industry is reeling. First, the pandemic crushing the worldwide demand for oil, not to mention an international price war in oil. And now a string of legal setbacks that have delayed and threatened to shut down 2 major oil pipelines. It adds up to a really bad case of the BAKKEN Blues. First, jobs. 10,250 layoffs as of mid-July, an estimated 20% of the state's oil and gas sector. Thousands more jobs are at risk as the Paycheck Protection Program expires. Active drilling rigs are hard to come by, only 10 working the entire state of North Dakota this month, the nationwide rig count falling for 19 straight weeks. And North Dakota's oil production now at its lowest level since 2013. In May, 858,000 barrels per day was produced. Compare that to 1.2 million a day in April. As the industry awaits federal court rulings regarding both the Dakota Access Pipeline and the long-delayed Keystone XL, experts expect a sudden surge of oil moving again by truck and rail. The Dakota Access Pipeline took 500,000 barrels a day out of the BAKKEN. That means 900 additional tanker cars on the rails each day. That heightens concerns over public safety. Alan Olson with the Montana Petroleum Association says without those pipelines, Montana and North Dakota oil producers face a significant hike in transportation costs, as much as $15 a barrel, economics that simply don't add up for oil ventures here. Olson says the big concern industry-wide is the rise in COVID-19 cases. As the cases go up, the demand for oil goes down. It's that simple. And recalling oil's big downturn in the mid-'80s, Olson told me it took the industry 20 years to recover. With that in mind, he said, we've got a long road ahead of us. In Billings, I'm Jay Cohn reporting for MTN News.
Storms move out tonight, leaving us partly cloudy through the overnight hours. Tomorrow, sunshine returns, but we talk about cooler weather sticking around coming up next.
Get great. STORMTRACKER weather starts now with Chief Meteorologist Elizabeth Copeland.
Everyone, welcome back on this Thursday evening. We've got one more day of the work week to go, and I can promise you it's going to be a lot less active than it was today. We still had some storms pushing through the northeast corner. One was just warned across the northeast corner closer to Plentywood. Now just seeing those showers move off. No severe storms at this time, and really our severe threat is diminishing tonight as drier air is moving in and those storms are moving out, especially across the northeast corner. So overall, across north central Montana, a couple clouds are still building building in right across the Rocky Mountain front to the east. So probably seeing a few more of those clouds this evening on the horizon as that sunsets. But overall, probably getting some nice sunset views out there. And across the northeast corner, Plentywood, again, still dealing with some showers just off to our west. Some stronger storms were building in the same area earlier this afternoon. Our severe threat has really started to diminish across the northeast corner of the state, and we're going to see a lot more of those calm conditions move in as that system continues to shift off to the north and northeast. So we are dealing with what's going to be left over, which are the cooler temperatures. So that cold front is what sparked all the activity this afternoon, and now that's with that colder air mass settling in on top of us, keeping us in the 60s and 70s right now. So much cooler air than we've been dealing with these last few days, where we've been in the 90s really over the last couple of days. So today, much cooler, and we're still going to track the cooler air settling in on top of us for the next several days, even heading into the weekend. So out of our U.S. Bank iCam, I mean, you can't get much better than this. Look at this shot out of Great Falls. Beautiful sunset out there to enjoy off of our U.S. Bank iCam, 62 degrees. The only thing we might be feeling out there, it's 62, feeling like 65, only because of a little extra humidity left over. We're still dealing with a few bits of moisture around the area, which that dew point can reflect. 56 degrees is pretty high. That's a good sign that there's still a little humidity in the air, which is why it feels a little warmer out there. But overall, not too bad. Again, especially dealing with those 90s just a couple of days ago. So tonight and tomorrow, we're going to be seeing a few showers build in, mostly just across Butte, maybe south of Great Falls, closer to Marr County than anything. And we're going to see those very spotty showers shift off to the northeast. Again, our severe threat's pretty much gone for the evening. Not looking at severe weather tomorrow either. Some light to moderate showers mostly stay to our south. Fergus County might get a few very light showers, but overall tomorrow evening, the high line's going to be much more clear, and we're going to be dealing with some clouds here and there, but much calmer weather is in store for us. And we're looking at a dry spell heading into the next week and a very big warm up. So fire weather watch in effect on Friday for parts of the High Line. That includes parts of Highway 2 from Chester to Browning, Hart Butte, Conrad, all those areas. Definitely we need to watch out as we head for the next few days, especially as that fire danger increases, because our temperatures and dry air increase as well. So temperatures are going to reflect those 80s in the forecast through the weekend, slightly cooler than average, but overall a very pleasant weekend in store. And then that's when we're going to hit the 90s early next week. We're going to go from the low to mid 90s. That dry spell is really going to spark some fire concerns across all of central Montana as drier air moves in. We're talking relative humidities down below 20%, which is very dry for this time of year. Helena looking at those 80s for the weekend as well. Very pleasant there, a lot less humid. And then that dry air moves in. We're looking at the 90s to hold steady in our forecast through next week.
COVID might put a halt to our fall sports season, but for now it can't drown out the cheers. We'll explain when the 10 o'clock news continues.
From Montana's news leader, you're watching the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Although the future of high school sports for the fall of 2020 is still murky, one team on the sidelines is vying to be there even if the spectators aren't. MTN's Sam Hoyle has more with the Helena Capital cheer squad.
At most Helena Capital sporting events, these girls can be found on the sidelines rooting for their friends out on the court. But this summer's practices have a certain aura about them as coronavirus concerns swirl. But still, they continue to press on with practices, hoping for a fall that will see them on the sidelines once again, said head coach Sue Bannon.
What I'm trying to do is prepare the kids to be ready whenever we're called on. If it's August, we'll be ready. If it's September, the kids will be ready. I like to give them hope, and we like to just plan on coming back in August, and I hope that they get rewarded, that they'll be able to start in August and proceed like normal.
For Caitlin Brown, a junior and a captain on the cheer squad, she knows everyone on the team has that thought in the back of their minds, worrying about whether or not they'll get a chance to showcase their hard work. But in her eyes, it's about having hope and leading by that example.
I think we have to be very positive with the team and not show any emotion, even though we are both hoping for a season. We have to show them that we both are positive and we know that there's going to be a season even though we don't.
Though Brown has the luxury of one more year as a junior, her co-captain, Tatum Bailey, doesn't. The senior captain isn't resigned to the fact that their season is over, but knows that if the season does get canceled, that will be okay too.
I try to stay hopeful. I know whatever the year brings, I'm going to be excited to have a team and be a part of it. We have already had a great summer, and I'm ready for whatever happens. If we don't have a season, we'll do other stuff, and that's okay.
Reporting in Helena, Sam Hoyle, MTN Sports.
Well, the future of the college football season remains up in the air amidst the COVID-19 pandemic, but several leagues are still moving forward with media kickoff events. MTN's Tom Wiley has the latest on the Cats and Grizz in the Big Sky Conference.
Thursday's Big Sky kickoff event started like normal, albeit virtually, with the unveiling of the preseason coaches and media polls. League coaches spent time talking about their teams, but eventually conversation shifted towards the elephant in the room, the effect that COVID-19 has had on programs and the uncertainty of the upcoming season.
But I think this has been a huge challenge just in terms of keeping a kind of that grasp of what your guys need at that moment when you're not around them. And our primary job is to make sure that we meet the basic needs of our student athletes, food, shelter, and safety. And we want to do that. And it's way easier to do when we're around them and can connect with them. So I think we've all gotten creative, but I think that's probably been the most challenging part of this time.
What I have seen is the separation they've experienced over the last few months, particularly this spring, has been disastrous for their mental health. It's just been awful for them. They're suffering mentally from it, and we need to get them back together.
Both Jeff Choate and Bobby Houck have advocated for masks, and they both hope it can lead to an on-time start in the fall. The Cats and the Grizz want to play football. But more importantly, they want a clear plan.
We just got to quit zigzagging. Whatever it is, stick to it. Get on the railroad track and go. This is a real virus. It's an airborne deal. It's not going to be contained. People are going to get sick. We've got to do what we can to mitigate it. We've got to make a decision whether we're going to do this or not.
Coronavirus isn't going anyplace, and half measures don't work. So my opinion is we either go or we don't go. We shut the country down, and which I don't think is feasible financially, personally. And then the other side of it is we go or we don't go. If you're uncomfortable, don't play, don't coach, don't go to the games. If you're comfortable, go. Let's roll.
Tom Wiley, MTN News.
We'll be right back after this.
All right, we're staying cooler after those storms move through tonight through the weekend. We're only in the mid to low 80s, and then we're tracking those 90s back in the forecast for next week. The only chances of storms besides this evening for the capital city will return a little later next week on Tuesday as we hit 92 degrees.
Well, finally, one of the nation's foremost COVID-19 experts won't be winning the Cy Young Award anytime soon. Before the Major League Baseball opening day game between the Yankees and the Nationals at National Park in Washington, D.C., Dr. Anthony Fauci threw out the ceremonial first pitch. But unfortunately, he was wild, throwing the ball way to the right. Not the greatest pitch, but at least baseball is back. That's all the time we have. Montana This Morning comes your way at 5:30. Have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.